All right, we're going to call to order the Torrington Public Schools regular Board of Education meeting for Wednesday, February 19th. It's 6:05. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We're going to scooch down a little bit so you're not falling off your seat.
Good, it's okay.
Yeah. All right. Roll call, please.
Mr. Brady.
Here.
Mrs. Capibianca is not here. Mayor Carbone. Here. Mr. Hinman.
Here.
Mrs. Bonner here. Mr. Kisco.
Here.
Mr. Nargi.
Here.
Mr. Rader. Mr. Rivera.
Here.
Mr. Tebow.
Here.
Mr. Traub.
Here.
Mrs. Batchelder.
Here.
Mr. Campolito.
Here.
Mrs. Clacko. Here. Any student representatives? Okay.
Okay, school community session, public participation. The board invites members of the community to speak on topics to be addressed in the agenda or on other topics of interest. Individuals wishing to make comments are requested to fill out the speaker sign-up sheet, including your name, address, which must also be stated at the beginning of your comment. The board will not allow comments regarding specific staff members or personal grievances. Courtesy is expected in this limited public forum. Participating time will be limited to 3 minutes per person and 10 minutes overall to guarantee an efficient operation of the entire meeting. Mr. Batt. Welcome.
I just have one thing to say. I noticed in the newspaper, once again, that the TAG program had been sort of delineated and degraded a little bit. It was a marvelous program when my son was in elementary school. And I want to bring to the attention of all of you, as much as we do for all children at risk and everything, and it's a marvelous thing to do, there is room, I believe, for honor students and A students and their parents. Let's make sure that we don't degrade everything that has to be done for the student that does not have any problems. I think it's unfair. I think A students have as much right to the facilities of the school system as children who have individual problems. And I think if we want to market Torrington, and we want to market our school system as one, we must, by definition, pay as much attention to our honor students as all the other students who have any kind of problem that we want to deal with, and we will deal with them. Thank you.
Approval of agenda.
I would like to add an item, action item to the agenda. Under action item D, approval of the subcommittee assignments.
Second. Second by Chris. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? Good. Informational sharing.
First thing this evening, I'd like to recognize a legendary teacher in our district, Marilyn White. Is Marilyn here tonight? No. Okay. But anyways, Marilyn has, she's currently library media specialist at Torrington Middle School, and she's been selected as a member of the 2016 Teen Nutmeg Selection Committee. She'll collaborate with 14 library media specialists and public librarians from across the state, and they'll select 10 books to be nominated for the 2016 Teen Nutmeg books. The committee will read and discuss over 80 books between February and November of this year in order to select the 10 books to be nominated. This is a huge commitment, but also a very great honor, and we want to wish our congratulations to Marilyn. The Nutmeg Book Award encourages children in grades 4 through 12 to read quality literature and to choose their favorite from a list of 10 nominated titles. There are currently 3 divisions: intermediate, teen, and high school. And she will be participating in the teen section. The teen committee, again, will read approximately 80 books. And then children in schools have the opportunity to read the 10 books that are nominated and vote on which one they think is best. But to be appointed to select is really a great honor, and it brings great honor upon our school district.
Thank you.
Keep going.
Superintendent report.
Okay. This summer, in response to safe schools, we worked with our police force, our fire department, and CIRMA, the Connecticut Interlocal Risk Management Agency, and taking a look at our safe and secure plans for our district buildings. And they even put us through our paces. It was all administration, and we had to deal with roundtable situations. What do you do in this kind of crisis? What do you do in this kind of emergency? And also for the plan that was in place, but what we were doing to upgrade our plan and to add greater means of making our buildings secure. So I received a letter on January 17th to be, that it was announced to inform us that Torrington Public Schools has been selected as a 2014 CIRMA Risk Management Achievement Award recipient. This announcement will, this recognition will be announced at CIRMA's annual meeting, which it was on January 31st, and we had Mr. David Becerra representing us, and there was, there'll be a separate awards ceremony celebrated in May 16th. CIRMA is a collaborative organization where members can continually improve their risk management skills and knowledge. The Risk Management Achievement Award provides a wonderful opportunity for other CIRMA members to learn from our successes. Your award is a testament to your dedication to improving safety, lowering losses, and ultimately saving taxpayer dollars, but more importantly, and also keeping our students safe. So it was from President and CEO of CIRMA and the Senior Vice President. So that was, and we are continuing to work on our safety plan that we will have to turn into the state. No questions, just keep going. Okay. As you're aware that we have been by the State Department of Education, Special Education, we were 2 years ago with selected for focus monitoring, and they looked at everything from our PPTs and IEPs and service that we were providing for children with special needs. And so we had to, each year we complete a certification report. Wait a minute, I think I skipped one. Sorry. I'll keep going with the focus monitoring. And so the review this year from 11-12 and then from 12-13, it says, congratulations, the Bureau of Special Education has determined that your district has satisfied the requirements incumbent on the 2011-12 cohort of districts participating in focus monitoring activities and will no longer monitor implementation of the improvement plan through the focus monitoring system. So we had to make a plan, we had to follow through with it. We've been successful. The pieces that they looked at to say what needed improvement, we've demonstrated improvement. It says that they will continue to monitor data submitted by our district through the state data collections, as it does with all Connecticut school districts. So the Bureau of Special Education encourages Torrington Public Schools to continue to improve the effectiveness of efforts to educate students with an individualized education program. So that is, and that included with each child who receives support services, they have an IEP, and how we develop those IEPs with family and the student if they're old enough, and how those services are delivered, the improved graduation rate among our students with special needs, and an approach to unified services to educate the whole child. Those were just some of the things that we were looked at upon. The next piece with the Education Certification Compliance Report. This also came from the State Department of Education, but it said that to inform that your school district is in full compliance with Connecticut general statutes regarding no teacher, supervisor, administrator, special service staff member, or school superintendent shall be employed in any of the schools of any local or regional board of education unless such person possesses an appropriate state certification. Nor shall any such person be entitled to any salary unless such person can produce such certificate dated previous to or the first day of employment. I can let you, happily say that every single one of Torrington Public Schools employees that needs to hold a Connecticut certification holds one. And then the last piece, under information sharing as far as the superintendent's report in your packet, is A Day on the Hill. It's sponsored by Kate, which Torrington Board of Education is part of. And what it provides for the board member is that key education issues that are facing you, and you have the, you as a board and we as a school district, and you can, gives an opportunity for you to meet with your legislators and how they will approach these challenges, and it gives the special features and the different breakdowns of meetings. It's also open to superintendents, or we can bring students, but most importantly it's for Board of Education members.
Common Core standards in the classroom.
CIAP.
Good evening.
That's not homework again, is it?
We're testing you again, Ken. Ballast for the back of the car. These are the long-awaited flip books. But as good teachers, we'll give those at the end because we know what happens when we give them early.
You're saying that you're strong.
I think so.
Just a few of you.
Just a few. And as with all things, there is a Common Core app, so those of you that have smartphones or iPads or tablets can certainly upload the app.
Sue, is what you're going to discuss, are those slides in the booklet?
Nope.
Yeah.
Not in this.
No, yeah.
Not in
Not
this
in book, but in what you have, in your
Yeah.
board packet.
Okay. Can we spin that so the crowd can see it?
Oh, that would be a good idea.
I mean, moving the whole projector.
Just,
Yeah.
Can we just,
You want to do it?
I think that would be a,
Well, yeah.
You want me to do it?
Yeah. We'd like to see the future too connected so that we can see what it
that would be.
Yeah, okay.
is. In your spare time.
should we back it up a little bit?
Yeah, I'm gonna. We'll adjust it as we go here.
Thank you, compromise. That's an exercise.
Yes,
Before we begin, Dr. Fazioli apologizes for not being here. We called her at 5:30. She has a tree down on a wire, and she was waiting for somebody to come and tend to that, so she sends her apologies. Last month, we did a general overview of the Common Core standards. This month, we'll talk about how this impacts us in the district. Research shows that there are two factors that have the greatest impact on student achievement. One, teachers. The second is curriculum. We're blessed in Torrington to have strong and passionate teachers, and so we've been working to develop a curriculum that suits them. And so the process is very simple. We've unwrapped the standards, and I'll talk about what unwrapping is in a second, so that everybody understands the acronym. CCSS stands for Common Core Standards. NGSS is Next Generation Science Standards, and then Social Studies hasn't been around long enough to actually have their own acronym, but that is coming. We created concept pathways. Those of us that have been in teaching for a long time would know it as scope and sequence, deciding what gets taught when, in what order, in the order that makes the most sense, and then developing units using a consistent format K-12, in this case an Understanding by Design or UBD template. And so when we talk about unwrapping standards, what we're talking about is isolating the concepts and skills that oftentimes get lost in all of the verbiage, so that there's a laser-like focus for the teacher on exactly what students are expected to be able to do by the end of this. So this is an example of a grade 2 English language arts standard. This is Common Core State Standard for English language arts literacy. The RL would indicate that this is reading literature. 2 means it's the second standard under reading literature. The .2 is the grade level. And so we have recount stories including fables and folktales from diverse cultures and determine their central message, lesson, or moral. The unwrapping piece is actually just deciding the concepts and skills. So if you look at those pieces that are in yellow, those are the concepts. The easy way and the way that I teach staff when I teach unwrapping, those are the nouns. And those are the larger ideas, the concepts that students need to know by the time they leave this particular grade. So this would be stories, including the genres of fable and folk tales, central message, the lesson, or the moral. The skills are the underline, or the verbs, what students need to be able to do. They have to be able to recount the stories. They have to be able to retell them. They have to be able to determine or to evaluate the central message, the lesson, or the moral. And so it gets through a lot of that verbiage so that everybody is very clear about what the expectation is. The next one is math. I am an ELA person, not a math person. I'll do the best that I can. So this is grade 6 math. Again, Common Core State Standards for math. The content is grade 6. The GA, I believe, may be geometry and area. This is the first standard. Again, find the area of the right triangles, other triangles, special quadrilaterals, and polygons by composing into rectangles or decomposing into triangles and other shapes. Apply these techniques in the context of solving real-world and mathematical problems. Again, if you look at the yellow, those are the nouns, the concepts. The area of right triangles, other triangles, special quadrilaterals, and polygons. And then the verbs, the skills, what students need to be able to do. The compose into rectangles, decompose into triangles, and then apply these techniques into real-world situations. So this is not just a matter of memorizing and then it's gone. They have to be able to apply these. The last one, oh, actually, that's it. This is actually when Dr. Fazioli and I have been working with the 4 content areas, 6 through 8, on this particular process. When we ran them through the unwrapping and they had started the concept pathways, the scope and sequence, we asked teachers for feedback on the process. If there was something that was not working, we wanted to know. But we also wanted their gut feeling on whether this would be as powerful as we thought it would. So we've actually interspersed a lot of teacher feedback in this presentation. And this was from one of the middle school teachers that we worked with. Unwrapping all of the standards and working with other teachers really helped me to understand what the students need to know and be able to do. Again, this laser-like focus on that. Once teachers know what that is, the how is then very easy. And I'll turn this over to my colleague.
Good evening. As we've go through with the aligned curriculum. I just want to thank Cheryl for really committing to Understanding by Design. That really made all the difference. When we started this out in the summer, the literacy team at our elementaries are incredibly strong. They've had support before, but they really didn't have that focus. And they came to Cheryl at the very beginning of the summer and said, please, please, can we have some direction in terms of what we're going to use? Because we really wanted to have that K-12 focus. And by having that commitment, it really has made a huge difference. Because now you really can have that cross-grade level articulation. You can have those conversations between 5th and 6th grade. You can have those conversations between 8th and 9th. And anybody at any level will be talking the same language. When you get these flip books, you will see the original template. The template was blank. So when we started this whole process, it was empty. And so at one of the board meetings, we will actually show you, once we have completed and filled out all of the different elements, because there are 3 different stages to this process. The first stage is mostly what Kathy's been talking about, which is just getting our focus out there. The next pieces are stage 2, which is really the assessment pieces, pre and post tests, performance tasks, things like that, which you've probably heard out there in the news. And then the last piece is the lesson plan. So it's been wonderful having professional development these last few days with smaller groups, but yesterday with the whole entire district, because we were able to see, okay, after we've worked and worked and worked, and we're trying to roll this out, saying, okay, here's the document. All right, at elementary we worked on nonfiction in terms of the units that they're going to be doing, and in terms of math, they had their next lessons that are coming up in the spring if we ever get there. Because we really wanted to have teacher input to see if this is going to work. So the top part, the stage 1, are all the basics of the lesson. But then the last part was really what we wanted to get to, which is the lesson planning, utilizing all the expertise that we have in the district, our wonderful teachers. Give us some input, give us some feedback. What are some great things that you do in the classroom related to nonfiction or geometry or seventh grade or science, any of the different elements, and then tell us, and we will put that and integrate it into this document. Most importantly, we want to make sure that this document is alive. This is not a document that we create for 2014 and gets stuck on a shelf, like many binders that we have in education. So that when we get to 2024, we're brushing the dust off it and saying, oh yeah, okay, why did they do that? What we'd really like to do is make sure that we have live binders, that we videotape teachers that are doing a phenomenal job teaching XYZ, whatever we really love. And we have those on the website. This is an organic document. It's alive. We're going to keep changing it. We're going to keep adding to it. We're going to keep adding to the resources. And as our technology gets better and better, we're going to pass that on to our students. And we're going to integrate that into our lessons as well. So we're very, very excited about these possibilities. When you look at the last few slides, mostly it's the quotes, like Kathy started us out with. One elementary teacher who had joined us in the smaller group said, I know the standards better because I had to continually make sense of them in the context of the classroom and in my lessons. This was tough, this was scary, it was daunting, it was different. I know we've done standards-based before, but not like this. And really, people had to say, okay, I'm going to embrace this, and how am I going to roll it out and make it alive in my classroom? So middle school teacher, it's great to walk out with a complete document that shows what we need to do and incorporates things we've already been doing. We've needed this for a long time, so just some validation. And the last one, the curriculum template is helpful. It tells me what the students need to know and be able to do. So a lot of reflections, a lot of positive. I would say that most people, 99.9% of the folks that we talked to yesterday were just very, very grateful to have this and felt very, very positive about the direction that we are taking. Is it scary? Yes.
Opportunity to come together and to really have that professional dialogue over the curriculum, where we're going, and what does it look like in the classroom.
Absolutely, and that's where we want it to be. So that whole piece is very exciting. Before we pass out our flip books, we just want to let you know Smarter Balance is coming your way next month at the board meeting. As soon as we know, you'll know. That's kind of been the MO of the state. It's been very difficult for them to gather information and for them to get it to us. The SBAC folks are having a difficult time creating this test, putting it together, and rolling it out, much more difficult than they ever thought was going to be the case. So, with that being said, we'll know a lot more. The last week in February, we're attending several meetings, just trying to get this information and getting it out to our teachers and staffs. Thank you.
You think that's everything?
So you're getting 2 flip books. You're getting the math and the English language arts to read in your free time. And just to get a flavor of what they're really being expected to do. Yes. One's math and one's English language arts. Thanks for your help.
Sure.
Thank you. Okay, next we're going to move into the turf field discussion. And you want to take the hot seat? Yeah. Come on.
Oh, yeah.
Well, thank you for inviting us to the meeting. Start asking us questions. We have a meeting. If we can't answer your question, we have a meeting tomorrow night. We'll send it right after that. So we're open for discussion on some of your items that you're looking for.
The first thing is, I had sent the email to the turf committee. This was discussed at budget last Wednesday. And Ed had met with me after the email, and my email was simple. It was asking the turf committee to hold off a year because we have the money for a period of time and make sure that we have all of our I's dotted and T's crossed before we rush into it. At that point, I had asked Ed about money that might not be accounted for in the grant after seeing what we cut from the wish list versus what is being covered in the grant. And that if we were to hold off a year, that maybe we would be able to either fundraise or budget money to meet those needs. Ed, in response, sent this email, which I had given to the budget committee because it had numbers for this year's, or next year's, or whoever gets stuck in the budget. And at that point, they asked if you guys could come and they could ask you a couple of questions. So that's how we got to where we are. And
I'm just wondering, Mr. Aaron, if you can tell me where these numbers are coming from. Is this from the original specs? Is this up to date? I mean, how old is the figure?
Which numbers are you talking about?
In the email, the specific.
Yeah, those are numbers from our consultant who we hired, Gale Associates, when he did our budget, which was given to Mr. Traub. It listed those items, and what I did was when I met with Mr. Traub, he wanted some items that what could he put in the Board of Ed budget. These are conservative numbers that Gale Associates has given to us. It's not bid numbers, because then we go out for bid. We're having all those specs ready to go out to bid, whoever would.
So these are current estimates?
Correct. 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 All of the items that Gale Associates has given us are all current items, conservative budgets. We won't know the real fact until we go out to bid. Again, in my, we'll be probably the first one in Connecticut this year to go out to bid. So our time frame is perfect because we'll be the first one to go out to bid, and after us, the company who gets whoever who's awarded the bid and so forth has an opportunity to add another project onto the end of the summer for them, because that's how they work it. So it's we're right up there There's only one other project that may go out to bid at the same time, but not likely.
But we're hopeful that that timing is what will help with the budget numbers.
Correct.
And that the actual bids may come in slightly less than the budgeted numbers. I mean, that's one of the advantages to being early in the process.
So are these necessary currently? These items that were listed in this email, are they necessary replacements?
Well, there's some items that you have, if you don't want to purchase,
For sure.
you have them now. You know, I mean, if you want to update the quality of those equipment items, the hurdles and so forth,
The mats.
the mats, that's up to the Board of Ed, because if you remember, when this person from the state came, Mr. Strike, at his name, mentioned it to you, the Board of Ed, that equipment is not in the grant.
I guess from our end, we haven't really been able to get a clear answer on this one question, and it's an overwhelming question from our point of view. If there's any overages, will we be responsible? Will the Board of Ed in any way be responsible for any overages that are related to this problem?
We're getting 2.7 million. That's all we can spend. If the bids come in, we're gonna have alternates. You know, we're projecting hopefully that the bids are gonna come in under what we're projecting. We cannot spend over the 2.7 million. We can't. Just like in your state statute, you can't spend over your dollar figure. If you do, you gotta go back to the city, or you'll be held liable for the overage.
The fear, I think, and I'll speak for myself, at least perhaps the budget committee, is that, yes, you have this number of 2.7, but say you can get 98% of what you want, you're just gonna come and ask us for the other 2% of what you need, and that's going to not be budgeted for, and that's a very real concern for us.
That's a concern for us. We're not gonna do that. You know what I mean? We're here.
I just needed to hear that.
You can
No
hear
one
it
had
from
ever
me.
said that.
You can hear from me. I've been in this business more than you want to know. I've built many buildings. I've built tracks. As an assistant superintendent for business, we don't go over. When I was here for 15 years, we never went over a budget.
We'd have to eliminate something.
Right.
Right, to get the job done.
We're going to get a job done, which the city of Torrington is going to be a proud owner of this property with the Board of Ed. People are going to come in, when they see that new entrance, they're going to say, holy cow, is this Torrington? It is. We're here because we want to do it since 2007. You have our confidence that we're going to do it. We have contractors who want to come to Torrington because the city pays on time, they don't have to borrow, and we're going to do it. And we have the money available from the state. All we have to do is send a request into the state. They email the money through the contract. So we can pay within 7 to 10 days of when they give it. Contractors love that. I've done it all my life.
So what I'm hearing then is this list that's in the email is really the extent of everything that you could think of that might come up on our end that we might want to
Correct.
contribute.
But remember, a number of these items are equipment which, if you want to
We will
replace,
need to eventually
correct,
replace.
you don't have to.
Thank you. That's all the questions I have.
But if you move those boxes in that dumpster, most of us will get lost. I mean, those
Right.
have been landmarks
I
for
know.
us for years.
Well,
Find
you know
anything
what?
to do.
We'll have your pictures somewhere. Those dumpsters are going.
Yeah, we do have to.
If I have to find somebody to take them to China, they're gone.
Mr. Nardi, you got a question?
Yes, a couple of questions. First one is, on the city side, as far as you know, you're not getting any pushback on their 99, whether or not they want to spend the 99,000 to do their...
We've given them this, again, all of the budget, when we go out to bid, it'll be before the city approves the budget. So when we find these may be gone because we saved all that money.
Okay. Andrew, one second. Just when Ed and I talked, the key to the conversation was, as I said to Ed, was we can't in April, when the bids come in, go to the board and to the city and say, we need, whatever it said,
Yeah.
$250,000. You know, that's not the time that we would be adding to a budget. That if there was any unforeseen expenses from them that they were not going to be able to cover, for us to get those numbers now so that they can get through the budget process and that, you know, come April, 20th, that we get the bids back, whatever it is, that we don't rip open the bids and say, "Hup, we need $256,000. So that was the reason for trying to get ahead of this.
Also on that list, 80,000 is already in your capital, right, okay.
Okay, so does this project need the board's approval or does it need it? I kind of got confused early on. It seemed like the board really had no say in actually having to vote yes or no on the project being done, when it's going to be done. Is that correct?
The grant went to the city.
Right.
We want to be collaborative with the city and the Board of Ed. Ken Traub is at the meeting. If he doesn't show up, I deliver the stuff to his office. I don't charge him for mileage. Just want to let you know that. I deliver to all the city people who are not here. This is a collaborative project. We want your input, but 2.7 we're getting. We're going to go ahead with it, but we need your input if you have anything you say you don't like and so forth. Then the committee will look at it, we'll vote on it, and get back to you.
Okay, fine, and then this last thing is, again, all of these items on this sheet, if it was decided not to be done, in no way affects whether or not we can do the project.
Correct.
These are not any type of contingency that needs.
We do have a
to be done.
contingency in our budget, it's 10%.
I'm talking about, these aren't, the project doesn't get held up because we decide we don't want to budget $156,000.
Correct.
And same with the city. So we get the project
Right.
done, the city says it's a bad year to do the 99, we say it's a bad year to do 156.
Right.
We
And
still
those
get
can-
the project done this
Right.
year.
And those can be items that both sides, the Board of Ed and the city, could do at a later date if
Right.
necessary. Look, I mean, I'd be lying if I didn't tell you I want the bids to come in right, that we don't have an entrance that we can be proud of. Because frankly, I get tired. I bring it up at every meeting. They can tell you, I get tired of walking by the dumpster and those two rusty storage containers.
And the
That
fence,
just should not
the
be.
fence there, and our plans are, we'll have handicap parking there, there'll be pavers there, there'll be an opening so a truck and so forth, fire truck can go through, there'll be nice ornamental entrance gates. The gates you have there, the fence that you have around the thing is terrible. It's not quality, it's 20 or 40 years old, you know what I mean? So we're looking to upgrade that place to look like, you know, a #1 class operation in the city of Torrington.
And the entrance would actually be turned a little bit so
Correct.
that as people come up the driveway, they'll see the entrance to the athletic complex. So they can look and know as they're coming up the driveway, that's where I go, and it'll be beckoning people there.
Right. There'll be a sidewalk, so they can drop the people off near the gym, and they can walk along the sidewalk into the facility.
Yeah, I just want to be on the record as saying I don't want this project to be delayed a day. So I'm hoping you guys will push forward.
Look, if the bids come in too high, and, you know, the grant is for us to do the track, the field, and the
Grandstands.
and the grandstands.
And also
We
to
got
do-
together and wanted to do these other things, because we think it's important for the school, we think it's important for our student athletes, we think it's important for the phys ed programs that are here, we think it's important for the people of Torrington to have a facility they can be proud of, that's safe, that they can use.
Handicap accessible, because you're under, you know, the state comes out and looks at high schools. We're going to do that ADA compliance to make sure everything.
The stands and so.
The stands right now are not ADA compliant. They have openings in the stands, you know what I mean? We won't have openings. It'll be a, you know, class operation.
Do a first-class job, there's not any.
3 questions, if possible. One, I was wondering if there is equipment to maintain the turf field in this, because I was looking at the Excel sheet that was attached to this, And I didn't see any equipment. I know you had mentioned a golf cart.
Yeah, the equipment is in the bid,
Okay.
okay? You have the golf cart already. You just have to, 2 to 4 rakings every season. Training will be given to all the custodians. Training also will be given for the turf, the lights, the press box, the equipment, as well as maintenance manuals. Product information on all the items will be given to the Board of Ed. And also, it's the contractor's responsibility before closeout to do all of this. He does not get paid until he does all of the maintenance items to the people.
They also give us some extra crumb, the tire fill and sand, so if it needs to be added to the field. And the architect said to us yesterday, you know, with what we're given, you don't use it in like a 10-year period. So we'll have extra stuff to put into the field so that we can try and maintain it, according to the architect.
Okay. Obviously, the field is a very big place for geese and ducks and so forth to spend a lot of time. Unlike the ground where it's porous and it will actually soak in, this is a rubberized surface, basically, from what you're talking about.
Correct.
So how do we clean it? Is
Well,
that part of
first
this
off,
grant?
geese only land somewhere to eat. There's nothing to eat on the rubberized surface. So,
So you're
but
telling
there
me
is.
there'll never be geese that decide to just land there to rest?
I'm certain there will be.
I can't
There is
guarantee
some-
that,
there-
but there is water out there and able to, so we could spray the surface down.
To wash it.
If there's any
Bloodborne
pathogens
pathogens,
on there.
custodians have to be trained on that anyway every year. So
Well, again, this is just,
Yeah.
I'm looking at this as an ongoing
Yeah.
cost
Yeah.
that currently, obviously, it just soaks into the field because it's porous dirt. This is not gonna be porous dirt, so obviously it has to be washed away somewhere.
Right, and there'll be
So-
water
There will-
hookups out
hook-
there
the water
as part of
Okay,
this.
so
There'll be
that's
water
part
out
of the
there to do that.
maintenance going
Correct.
forward. with it.
Correct.
it's just like anything at the basketball game. When a kid gets hit in the nose, custodians have to come out with their gloves and so forth, wash it down, take it away. It's common practice.
That's not a current practice that we need to deal with, so that's just budgeting. for
Well,
the
I don't
future
know if
for-
it's not a current practice at a football game, to have kids bleed. They still, you know what I mean, they're on the sidelines, they're
Well,
on the
I
track.
don't have a custodian that runs out in the middle of the field to clean the field from
No.
a kid having a bloody knee.
But, you know, I will also say if, you know, I don't know if, you know, if there's that much yeast droppings in the way, there's probably been some cleaning going on out there anyway.
Yeah.
So,
Like
but
I said,
it's a
just
point well
concerned
taken.
about
No,
going forward.
absolutely.
Yeah.
But there is water out there, and that's one of the things that it's designed
I
to
think
do to clean
if
the
you got,
field.
if you have 20 acres of real grass here and 5 acres of artificial turf there, even a stupid geese, I think, is gonna land on the real geese.
Well, they might, but
They usually land at
can still-
Wolcott Tech, if
Right.
you haven't noticed that, so we're okay. They like that field, it's brand new, it's,
they could stop to use our facility as the bathroom on the
Yeah,
way.
yeah.
So you don't know. They could absolutely.
what?
Those cardboard dogs don't.
Don't worry.
No, they don't.
There was an item, years and years ago, somebody told me that if you spray something on it, when they come down, it looks purple and they get away. But I don't think that's true.
Nothing works.
My last question, when I was reading through the Excel sheet for the synthetic turf field construction, I noticed the fact that on places like turf.com where they talk about the different things that you need, they talk about concussion mats. And I didn't see a concussion mat as one of the options on this. Is there a reason why, or am I just missing it in the Excel sheet?
No, construction padding, so to speak. There's a G-Max cushion and concussion thing. We're gonna have 2.5 inches of grass. We're gonna have 1 3/4 inches of sand and rubber, which is 4 1/4 inches of surface, okay? Gale Associates, since 1997 to 2003, have put in 160 track and field facilities. 13.5 million square feet. There is no padding under it. Many, probably almost all of Connecticut's fields do not have padding under it. It's a marketing
An upgrade,
upgrade.
right.
The thing is, the field, the way they're designed today, this field will meet the concussion standards required. The padding is the turf itself in the sand. It is not the additional padding, I think is what you're asking about. It will meet the construction padding. the specs that are required. I mean, I've had my share of concussions from playing football. It's nothing that I want anybody to go through. There's times in school when I look at the kids and forget their names, I think, oh boy. So the bottom line is we're not going to put something that's not safe. And this field, as it's designed, will meet the specs for the GMAX rating. I asked the architect point blank, I said, okay, you're building this field, your son is playing on it for the next 4 years, you got all the money in the world, do you put a pad? He said, no, we never recommend one. The field itself is enough protection and meets that GMAX standard that you're looking for of 110 to 120. And if it's maintained, it will stay there. It will stay there, so that's important.
And it should be noted, our estimated GMAX rating right now is probably about 160 to 180, which is very, very dangerous. It's just short of a parking lot, practically. And that just comes from constant compaction of the ground, of the topsoil that used to be there, which is now really hard pan.
Right. I mean, we found out, I mean, you learn as you do these things.
Of course.
You know, when a game is done, we frequently roll the field to make it level, but that compacts the topsoil. And it's probably something on the field you shouldn't do.
Right.
Who knew? You know, you think you're doing the right thing. But the bottom line is, when it compacts it, you can actually end up with, you know, GMAX ratings 180. You know, 200 is lethal.
Yeah.
You know, you don't. So, you know, I don't really know what's out there.
Okay, thank you, gentlemen.
You're welcome.
I just want to add, first of all, like it was said before, I'm extremely excited about this project going forward as soon as humanly possible. I think it brings a lot to the table as far as offering something good for the students that are here and maybe even attracting others that may want to come into our district. As far as the field surface goes, I've run around on that field plenty of times the way it is now, and I would agree that it is fairly firm. I played a lot of football in my day, and that is certainly one of the hardest surfaces that I've been on that's natural grass. I've also been on the surfaces that you guys are proposing putting on. It is much, much more forgiving for those that may be a little apprehensive about it. That's all I have.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
And again, I'll say again, if other questions come up, we're more than happy. You know our numbers, you can always get to us.
I
The mayor.
speak the Honorable Mayor.
Oh, I'm sorry.
First off, I just do want to express my gratitude. I know that you guys have been working awfully hard. Not only the past 7 years, I'm looking at the size of that binder thinking, there's a whole lot of information that we're putting together. So my gratitude, and on behalf of the city, my gratitude. Some questions I heard at the Budget Committee meeting that I'm not hearing here now. Do you mind if I just share those questions?
Not at all.
Okay, good. Electric reviews. I think, Cheryl, you had a question about electric reviews.
Yes, because was it going to hook up right to the electric, you know, wherever the lights are?
Well, the lights are, they're new lights. They're
Right.
going to be energy efficient. We're only adding a couple of lights around the second grandstand that's on the opposite field, Route 8, for safety
And
reasons.
there's going to be some added along the grandstand that's there now on that side to light, I think, the walkways
There's
to
a
get
walkway
off.
underneath the grandstand.
Stand.
And by the way, I have a full set of drawings if anybody wants to look at them.
Okay, but I'm just,
Right.
you know, we've done a lot within the district to reduce our utility cost, and so,
Yeah.
Well, this will reduce the wattage because it's the up-to-date
Right.
electricity.
And less of them, less fixtures
Right.
required as well.
Correct.
Because they're brighter.
So I can't imagine that the bill's gonna go up.
and okay, I guess too, a concern, and this is just me speaking with my facilities director, who's also on,
Yep.
as far as sewer and, like, will there be bathrooms connected underneath the grandstands, or no, what would
No,
be using?
Not at,
No.
not at this point. I
Not at
mean,
this point.
when those bids came in, you know, for that building and bathroom facility, it was some 600,000. The estimate came in, it was like $600,000. We don't have the money to do that. In the plans, you know, we're proposing a spot where it could be. Could that number be far less? Sure, if you decide not to do a bathroom, and could you have a wooden facility built for storage in place? That's certainly a possibility. You know, we've kicked around the ideas of Can we go to Wilka Tech and offer them a chance to play in the field here on Saturday afternoons for them maybe coming over and helping to build something at a reduced cost as a storage facility? I mean, those are all things that, you know, we can talk about going forward, but we don't have the $600,000 to build the block building with the bathrooms and all, because again, those have to be compliant for accessibility and such, and we don't have it. Unless you want to give it to us.
I believe I heard during that meeting a question regarding the cost of maintenance after installation. I think
Yes,
that's your question. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was asking earlier.
Right.
Yep.
We gave a sheet to Ken Traub. They estimated about $5,000 a year for maintenance of that field. Right now, in 2010, you budgeted, the budget was $21,800 to maintain the field, the lines, and so forth. So it's considerably less. The lines are already imprinted in the field.
No painting, no mowing.
No painting, no mowing.
No weed whacking against the fence.
Right, there'll be
Because the
no.
way we're designing it.
Right, there'll be no weed whacking because there's no grass.
The surface,
Yeah.
the surface goes out beyond the
Run
fence.
surface beyond the fence.
Right.
So
So
that
essentially,
there-
then there is a savings in doing this.
Correct.
Oh, absolutely.
Thank you very much.
The other thing that will be on the field are what are called tick marks for lacrosse. We know that, you know, there's been some discussion possibly of a women's lacrosse maybe program here. We're not going to paint, the field isn't going to come with those lines, but the tick marks would show someone in the future, if the program did come to fruition, here's where you paint the lines, so they'll know where they are.
So
Yeah.
then we'll be like we do now, we paint the lines before every game.
Only for lacrosse.
Only if you decide to do lacrosse. These lines for football and soccer are there.
They're there.
Right, they come on the field, when they roll it out, they're there. But if in the future that were to come, someone doesn't have to figure out where the lines go. Those would have to be painted on for lacrosse. We didn't think putting those lines in, you don't have the program yet. If it does come to fruition, it's there, and it hopefully will make someone's job easier in the future.
And I think the only other question that I heard during that meeting was Fiona's question about time frame. When does the committee anticipate taking control of the fields and starting construction?
The bid opening will be April 16th if everything goes. Award the contract April 30th, start construction May 7th. Once we start construction, the contractor, of course, will have his insurance and all of that, builder's risk and everything. We will enclose that whole area, and it is then the liability of the contractor.
Yeah. Accessing the site from the back area.
Again, everything will be coordinated with Dave Pacetta and Eric Bain. We also are looking at, the city was going to do the borings. They're stretched out. We may have somebody else do the borings. Clarence Wiltie, who has done borings throughout the state. I spoke to him. He gave us a price. We're going to meet with the committee tomorrow, and he's going to give us a time frame to start those borings. And it's under, we don't have to go out to bid because it's way under the policy of the city. So it'll be easier because the borings are just holes, not bringing the whole truck, the backhoe on it. So it'll be less.
Less evasive.
Correct.
Less
Thanks.
invasive. And the holes are way smaller.
Right.
So.
7
it'll be
holes,
safer.
15 feet deep, roughly.
About that big.
Yeah.
You said May 7th you would start construction?
Correct.
Isn't our track season until June 6th or something?
Yes.
So what would happen to our track season?
They would be, their meets would be scheduled away. A project of this scope is going to have an impact on a season, whether it is spring. If you wait through the spring and start and don't finish until the middle or the end of the fall season, you have a larger impact on your student athletes in the fall. There are more games played up here in the fall. You have basically 15 home football games between freshman varsity, JV and varsity. You have probably
26 between the two soccer teams.
between the boys and girls programs, varsity and JV, there's 26 games there. many of those games between football are money generating for the school. For the track in the springtime, you have basically 3 or 4 track meets. You have a couple of sub-varsity, maybe 4 sub-varsity baseball games. So it has far less impact on the sports programs in the spring than it does in the fall.
Except where do they practice every day?
The track coaches said he will find a way to practice that team using the field. So Mike Tyler is on our committee, and he has said he would do that.
I think he's going to utilize the rest of the field
Yeah.
over here versus, I think he said he was going to set up a running surface in the parking lot, and then the track and field events were going to be over in the grass area and work around, just not use that complex, that's fenced.
Right, but he has said that he can handle that with the team.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Sorry, the mayor reminded me of a question that came up during the meeting. Is there any structures underneath that field that need to be reviewed prior to the bids going out?
The city is going to put a camera under the sewer line, which is 20 feet below surface. And we're not going to touch that sewer line.
That's the storm sewer one.
Storm
Are you gonna do
sewer, I'm
the sewer
sorry.
as well?
I think, I get confused with sewer, storm sewer.
Yeah, I know.
They're all the same, everything goes on.
But
Yeah,
that's something we can certainly talk with Jerry Roulette tomorrow
Right.
night. But the city will come up with their camera and look
Right.
to make sure that.
I just want to make sure that we're not putting a big slab of concrete over anything.
Oh, no.
Absolutely.
Absolutely,
We want to be sure
Thank
too.
you.
yeah.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Okay, guys.
Thank you. And again, any more questions, please ask.